super excited. I have got one of my favorite people, someone I've known for many years and I have seen achieve many things.
From Blackbird Ventures, like so full circle, a lot of the universities, and not just in Australia, but across 18 countries. And we just hit 992 people on the waitlist to hear about the next program. Imagine making a community for superheroes. Nah. But for Spider-Man in New York, who identifies as a male, phenomenal, right? So Butter is the online platform that we use. And Jess and I were just sitting there and Butter has a notification when someone arrives. It just says, Seth Godin is at the door. What do they want to see? Okay, great. Let's build that. Amazing. Did I get it right? Cool. All right. Cool. You want to help? Okay, great. And it's just become, the best leaders don't lead, they listen.
Yeah.
So really coming back to that around thinking who, not how, I think that will just help in life in general. I mean, I just loved how many different chapters there've been. What are we going to say in like 10 years?
Welcome back to Give It a Nudge. Today, super excited. I have got one of my favorite people, someone I've known for many years and I have seen achieve many things, Paz from Community Collective, finally on the show. How many times have we tried to film?
I think probably
8?
about 5.
Oh,
maybe there was 3, I
exaggerate.
forgot. Okay, maybe 12.
Welcome.
I'm here.
You're here and you're here for South by Southwest.
I am.
Which is why you're in town.
And I also had a family trip before this with my mum, which was very nice.
Which was cool. And I saw you a few weeks ago at the awards where you won.
Yes. And the Nudge Group were a sponsor of one of the awards. And then Tech Visa was a sponsor for the Future Leader of the Year award.
I know.
Yeah.
So, and Sam's coming on the show actually very soon because, again, another guy who I've been trying to get on the show for 4 years or something.
Yeah.
I think we've got him booked in. So we're finally ticking off these people. Finally.
Good. Save the best to last. Is that the strategy?
No, save the best till now.
Yeah, there's no end point. Just you're going to be doing this forever.
Now, nearly everybody who watches our show will know who you are. But just in case there's a couple out there, describe in your own short words what Community Collective is because it's quite an interesting, unusual business and it has just taken this whole Australian ecosystem and now global ecosystem by storm.
Yeah. I think in order to explain what the Community Collective is, it's good to kind of rewind to actually how it started.
Sure.
Because before the Community Collective, I was actually working in the startup space based
in
Melbourne. In the community. Surprise. And I was basically a community manager. So I kept getting this role title. I was working at RMIT Activator, ran a lot of accelerators there, a lot of incubators and managed the co-working space. Joined the Startup Network where the Nudge Group was a partner at the time as well and was managing the community of up to 60,000 people.
Was it that many?
Yeah, 60,000 in the network.
That was wild.
Yeah. So we had lots of different streams for different types of founders and basically, throw in a pandemic, if you've ever heard of that thing called COVID. It's still around.
It is.
And basically we realized how hard it was to actually build groups of people at that time because everything was locked down, shut away, moved online. And basically I was really struggling in my job.
I was going to say, how did you feel? Because that was your job. It was taken away from you.
It was tough. It was really tough. We were running all these in-person programs, managing a 3-story co-working space. And then at the time, basically RMIT demanded a 1-week close. So we all packed up our things, just left it all at the desk. We were like, we'll be back in a week. Wrote up a sign and I was like, back in a week.
Did you put a sign up?
Yeah, because it was going. So emailed everyone, we're like, hey, mandatory close, like back in a week. And like a year and a half later, it was still
Did
closed.
you not go back at all in that time?
We were allowed to go back to the building to pick up office supplies and things that we left because we were all like back in a week.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a week. And I remember going in one day and it was like deserted and you had like a 10-minute slot where you could go in so you didn't cross paths with anyone else. And I was at RMIT like building 81 or something and like literally went in, had my mask. It was like, felt like a ghost town. We got to take like our office chair, keyboard, full Mac, like Apple setup. RMIT was so generous and really giving at that time. And then they were like, Dad, just borrow it for the next month. Like still have everything today. They ended up gifting a lot of the office. Yeah, they gifted it to majority of the people. And basically, yeah, we could grab everything and then set it up at home. So obviously you could work from home. But it was so tough. I think personally at that time, I was locked down in Fitzroy North. We had the 5K radius. My housemates actually all left. They were like, we're just going to go stay like at family homes. We'll be back soon, and then didn't come back.
So you were totally on your own?
I was totally on my own, and I'll have to send you a photo of like the house because there were all these metal bars out the front, so it literally looks like a prison. And I'd wake up every morning, like, you know, go for a walk, come back and just like open my laptop and just
start
work. Yeah. And you're doing that for months on end. And I'm a textbook extrovert. Like I gain energy from other people. But at the time, it was just so isolating.
You posted, I remember the picture of the bars. You posted a picture of that. I remember it now. It's coming back to me. You put it on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
Because you were totally on your own.
Yeah.
And you would, I remember you said, I'm struggling with this. I like to be around people.
Yeah.
I was obviously, I like to be around people, but I was with my family. You know, there was 4 of us and a dog, so it wasn't the same. I imagine it was much harder on your, like literally on your own in what is quite a big property, right? Because you had quite a few housemates.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone would experience differently. I think in my experience, what I found the most challenging was I would call my grandma every week or so and just like check in and call family. And then I called my grandma and she didn't answer one day. I was like, oh, I'll just call her back the next day. Didn't call her the next day. Nothing came from it. And then I got a call from her partner saying that she'd fallen in the shower and she was just at hospital and she'll be back the next day. And turns into a very sad story, but we end up getting a call that she passed away. Awful. And at the time, you weren't allowed to go to hospital to see anyone. And so we were there being like, can we go visit? And they were like, no, like mandatory, no one's allowed to visit. And at that time, you're like so angry at the system, at the world. And my mum actually ended up like just going to the hospital and just going and visiting her mum. And, you know, despite everything, went and said goodbye. But, you know, we weren't allowed to have a funeral and it was—
I never understood those crazy— it was just so much.
It was so intense and it was so intense. And so you're dealing with these macro levels of what's happening in your life at the time. And then you still have to show up at work.
Yep.
And when you put the community manager hat on, you're the face of a brand, you're like running these events, obviously dealing with the founder community who have their own challenges.
Who are looking to you.
Yeah, exactly. And looking to the university, and it was so hard. And I took time off, but I still had to come back. And I was like, does anyone else struggle with this? Like, how do you be the face of the brand, but you can't, you know, who do you speak to about like the challenges of that? Because it's a really strange role. You know, there's no Bachelor of Community Management.
There is not.
There's no like university degree yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. That there's a few subjects, and Australian community managers have done a great job in educating some university streams in that sense, but there's no like full degree. And so I was struggling and I was like, is anyone else struggling in this? So I had reached out to my network and said, do you know any community managers in the startup space? Can you just email intro me? Got like 50 email intros. And then Josh Lipscomb from Launch Vic at the time actually said, hey, Melia Rayner from Blackbird Ventures is also gathering community managers. I'm just going to connect you to. Caught up with Mel. She was like, great, let's join forces. I called Jala Alex from Monash University at the time, who now works at Thriday, and said, let's run a meetup. So we ran a meetup in between the 4th and 5th Melbourne lockdowns at the Commons in Cremorne. And there were 17 of us like taking off these masks, like eating sushi, having a glass of wine, just being like, are you alive? And we just talked about our job and how hard it was. And afterwards it went viral and we had hundreds of people wanting to join.
How did people find out about it? Did you film it? Did you take pictures? How did you because obviously you went, 17 of you. Yeah. How did that go viral?
Yeah. So basically at the end of the meetup, we had a couple of people there saying, hey, I know another community manager in the startup space who would really benefit from joining this group. We were like, great. Well, we obviously want to make sure that this group stays valuable. So we want to make sure that everyone is a community manager. Yep. And so here's an Airtable form. Here's the link. We'll send it in the post-event email.
Right.
And if you know anyone, share the link. Link got shared.
Boom.
En masse. And Jala actually, the phenomenal human that she is super creative, and she took these beautiful SLR photos. She designed the brand. She picked the orange color
The famous
of the brand.
orange.
Yeah, I actually used to wear pink before orange.
We don't have.
So-
we do have pink chairs, but we had the orange chairs for you.
Yeah. No, I love that you got them custom made for this
We
interview.
did for this
Thank you.
single
Thank you.
podcast. We'll never use them
I
again.
really appreciate it. I get to take them home.
Yeah, we'll get a package
on
them
the
up.
flight
You
with
put them
me.
in a glass box.
Fabulous.
Should be able to carry these.
I'm never going to sit on anything else. But we had, Jala who, took all these photos and we shared it afterwards, sent the photos to everyone. Everyone kind of shared it. And we were averaging 80 to 100 people on these Zoom meetups every month. Blackbird Ventures was super supportive at the time. We were using their Zoom admin account, and we basically had a different topic for each session. So we come talk about community management and then leave. And after a year, this gets us to June 2022, we basically had about 600 people just in this free meetup, whilst the three of us were running, still working full time.
Yep.
And they were kind of emailing us being like, I want some coaching or mentoring. Have you dealt with this challenge? And it was getting to this point where we were like, okay, whoa, it's kind of hard to juggle both. And I went and spoke to Melia and Jala. I was like, I'm thinking of quitting my job and
just doing
interviewing these people and just seeing what they need. They were like, phenomenal. We'll stay in our full-time jobs, but we'll join the advisory board and we'll help you. I was like, great. So I quit my job in July 2022, registered the Community Collective as a company. My accountant loves me because it was the 1st of July. It's such a clean financial
timing.
year. Yeah, it was really, really satisfying. And basically then spent 3 months interviewing all of these community builders to kind of understand what more they would need.
And so that's amazing. But a lot of people will be going, how could you afford to do that? How could you afford to suddenly quit your job in a period of a lot of uncertainty and just go and interview people?
Yeah. So I basically made some calculations because obviously I still have a life that I need to live.
Yep.
And I don't believe that any founder should sacrifice their life to serve anyone
I
else.
agree with that.
Obviously, the most important asset of a business is the founder.
Yep.
If there's no one else in the business, the founder doesn't exist, the business doesn't exist. So I had to make sure that my cup was full. And so I basically calculated how much money do I need for Paz runway? So the runway to live my life.
Yep.
So I looked at that and it was about 3,800 Australian dollars at the time per month.
Yep.
For me to pay my rent, pay my bills, go get a coffee, just
Stuff.
live, I'm not buying new cars and things like that, but I'm also not living off noodles or something. So I saved up 10 grand and I was like, cool, this gives me 3 months runway in Paz's life where I can afford to go and really run an experiment and see if the Community Collective can then take over and give me enough money to serve the rest of the Community Collective. So I spent 3 months, interviewed everyone, jumped on all these calls, asked them their challenges, the goals they had and what support they were looking for. And then went to, have you heard of Chaos Pilot?
Yes.
Yes.
Probably from you.
Okay, well, it's amazing. If anyone hasn't heard of Chaos Pilot, it's a Scandinavian school of learning design. So I know a lot of learning designers who've studied under that methodology. I've done the methodology in some of their masterclasses. And basically I gathered a couple of them and said, I'm trying to design a learning experience to solve these challenges, help them achieve these goals and give them this support.
Yep.
Let's design a curriculum. So I designed an 8-week experience, a cohort program. And then I wanted to test if it was worth running. Obviously, it's building a community is like building a business. Need to test product market fit or community market fit, as I like to say. And I basically wrote a LinkedIn post. I was thinking about running this 8-week program, maybe in September. Anyone keen? And I had 100 people express interest
That's
in 24
wild.
hours. I was like, whoa. Okay, all right.
I've got something here.
I'm onto something.
I've got the fit.
So that was then the trigger for me to build the thing.
Yeah.
And I wanted to spend pretty much no money on it because I just wanted to experiment and basically launched the first program. It was paid. I was expecting maybe 10 people. We had 37. I was like,
fantastic.
Amazing. And at that time I was contracting on the side. So I was actually building communities for co-working spaces. I'd moved my life from Melbourne. After that pandemic experience, I was like, I'm out.
Yep.
And I moved to the Surf Coast down to Torquay.
Yep.
And basically then was playing music gigs on the side. So I actually had an album launch at the same time when the program was running, which I would never recommend anyone to do. And so I signed with a label and was distributing a lot of music and then generated basically enough income to kind of live my life. Yeah, on the side. So I didn't actually need that 10K in savings, but it was the mental buffer, of like the safety net. And yeah, we ran the first program and a lot of people wanted to then join the next, and we've ran 7 so far.
So good. So is it 7 now? 7 cohorts.
We're literally in week 5 of cohort 7.
And how many people have you got in this one?
We have 119 companies.
So how many people have been through?
We've had over 320 companies.
And this is in 3 years?
In 2.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first program started October 2022, and then we're in the 7th at the moment in October.
Mm-hmm.
And basically we have trained so many different types of people, and it's been so cool because we've had companies who basically have had employees go through our program from Google, Canva, Notion, MYOB, Airtree, StartMate.
Yep.
People from Blackbird Ventures, like so full circle, a lot of the universities, and not just in Australia, but across 18 countries.
Mm-hmm.
And we just hit 992 people on the waitlist to hear about the next program, which is wild.
So did you ever want to be a founder?
No.
I was going to say, because you kind of fell into it.
Mm.
And I think it's interesting because you managed to build communities. So you saw founders, you see what founders go through, you see the ups and downs, the stresses. Do you think you would have fallen into it if you hadn't had the pandemic? Do you think you would have been a founder? Because it's a very different job to building a community. I mean, there's a huge amount of crossover, of course, but becoming a founder is a massive commitment, as you now very much know. And I guess usually you need something that drives you to do it, which is exactly what happened to you. But I'm just intrigued as to whether, is COVID the reason you're here, or do you think you would have ended up there anyway? Because I feel, and I've known you a while, that you would have ended up there anyway.
I think I would have ended up there anyway, but it was never something that I actually wanted to do because my job was to help founders build businesses. And the through way in which I did that was by building a community around them, so connect them to mentors and such. And, when you run a co-working space, you obviously see how hard people work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I looked at people who were founders and I just thought, that looks really tough. It looks really tough. And it didn't look like there was a lot of problems, a lot of stress, so many challenges. And it wasn't crying out to me as something that I wanted to do. Like my intention was never to start a business.
No.
But when you have a problem that you experience so deeply, the thought of anyone else feeling as isolated as I did in Fitzroy North in 2020 was heartbreaking. And I was like, if I use my one big life to even just better one other person's life for not feeling the way that I felt, I was having panic attacks and just anxiety. I deal with a lot of psoriasis and dry skin, and like my skin would be ripping if I moved my head. Like I was in so much pain, and I was so confused by what my job was, but I loved it and hated it at the same time. And I just thought, community managers and just people who connect people in a business setting should have that support because the conversation is so nuanced. So I think I have a very passionate and hardcore vision, and I'm not going to stop at anything until I feel like that's coming to fruition, which I really think it is at the moment. Like our vision is to make community building the most impactful business strategy, and looking at case studies like Notion and Canva and Culture Amp is such a great North Star. But I think to start a business, the goal shouldn't be I want to run my own company. The goal should be I want to serve people. So I've always been passionate about serving people, so probably yes. Yeah. And my whole family also run their own companies, which I think
you are entrepreneur. I mean, even with your music thing, right? I mean, there's a big difference between just wanting to play music, which you do, but to what, because you've achieved a heck of a lot there too as well, right? You've got your whole separate music business, which you don't talk about very often.
Yeah. Let's dive into the music business. Do you know how it started?
I feel I might, but I'm not going to guess because I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to get it wrong. I know that you've had views in the millions.
Yes.
I do know that.
I think I just hit about 10 million streams.
That's what I heard.
On my little dashboard that I can log into via Gyro Stream. But I actually started playing classical guitar when I was 4. So My
4?
brother started learning when he was
Was it really classical guitar
6.
or was it just guitar?
It was classical guitar, like
Really?
Suzuki trained. So Suzuki is not the car brand, the classical model of learning an instrument. So Dr. Suzuki was from Japan, and he created this methodology of learning an instrument by all like sound.
Yep.
So instead of learning notation and me trying to play along, I would listen to the song 100 times a day for 30 days, and then I would pick up the
You did
guitar.
that at 4?
That's the methodology that you start to learn. So you
'Cause I
start
say-
learning at 4.
So you can't do something 100
I'm
times
not,
when you're 4.
playing the Vivaldi concerto. We were doing like Cool Twinkle Little Star,
Right.
like Happy Birthday. But was classically trained for 20 years. So my teacher, Zia Reedon, is phenomenal. And basically we did lessons every Monday, 6 p.m. from when I was 4 all the way up to like 18.
Wow.
And the beautiful thing about the Suzuki community of musicians, it can be for violin, piano, saxophone, guitar, is every second year they would have the Suzuki Annual Music Conference. And so you'd fly all around the world to be hosted in America and Japan. Like we've performed in the Sydney Opera House,
Oh, cool.
at Melbourne Recital Centre, and we would come together with all these thousands of students all around the world who play an instrument, but we don't speak the same language. Like I was in Italy, in Saluzzo in the north, and we're all studying the same music for the week to prepare for this one giant concert. And I don't speak Italian.
No.
I can speak Spanish and French, but not Italian. And I was like, okay, I don't know what you're saying, but we can play the same song. So you would have a ball like all week. And that was, I think, definitely the first taste of the power of community that I felt. But what music has given me has been the foundation, I think, of how I've approached everything in life. Because music says, here's a giant difficult song like the Vivaldi concerto. You know, it's like 30 pages. It's really, really tough. And you look at that and you go, that's impossible. But all you do is you break it down chunk by chunk and you practice this one bar 40 times every day. And until you've played it perfectly 10 times, you then move on and add the next bar. You just building blocks.
That's the most, I mean, you can relate that to anything. Right? You
Anything.
can relate that to sport. You can relate that to business. You can relate that to languages. You can relate that to, it's how anyone who's achieved anything, and they say, how do we do it? One step at a time, one chunk at a time. It's exactly that,
Break
right?
it down.
But it's also repetition. Which I'll come back to in a minute because I want to talk about repetition in business and repetition in community because I don't know whether repetition has the same impact in that. But anyway, keep going.
Well, the key here is consistency.
Yeah.
Like we kept at guitar. That was the one thing that we did. You know, it's like the book So Good They Can't Ignore You. You just pick the
Good
one
book.
thing, great book, and you go so deep in it and you just become so knowledgeable in that one niche. And so that was a phenomenal platform. And I ended up living in Spain for a year. I studied flamenco guitar. I started writing my own music. I was really hungover one morning, felt so awful that I was like, I need to write a song to make me feel better. And I started writing relaxation music. And so I started writing relaxation music. And then I signed with a label in Brisbane about 3 years ago. And I send them about 3 to 4 albums of music every year. But I compartmentalize it. So I'll do music so I take 4 months off every year from the Community Collective, from the delivery. So there's like nothing in my calendar for the Community Collective. And at that time, I will bulk record music in January and June. And then I'll send it. It'll go out across like 180 music platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, etc. And then it'll go out and be released every fortnight. You know, might do that with a podcast, for example.
Yeah.
So we do that at scale. And then, label Sooth Sounds. They're phenomenal, have an incredible team. And then, we've like hit, I think, over 10 million streams.
Why
One of my
did we
songs went
not-
viral on Instagram.
Why did we not bring a
Which is so
guitar
funny.
here today?
Ah,
We should have done that.
Yeah.
Because you don't mix the two. I've never seen you play a flamenco guitar at any of our birthday parties that we have shared with our businesses, which we've done now a few times.
Yes.
I've never seen you do that. I didn't know that you did. I knew you went off and recorded,
Yeah.
but the flamenco guitar's cool.
It's fun. It's really fun. And, you know, you meet so many amazing people. And I met Janie, actually, who is the co-founder of Smiling Mind and has actually just stepped in as CEO of Kick with Steph Claire Smith and Laura Henshaw. And I met Janie on a panel at a Forever Projects event. And afterwards I was like, if Smiling Mind, you know, needs some music, like let me know, because they're an app for meditation. And fast forward, all my music is now released on Smiling Mind. They have about 9 million users a month. or like something absurd. But I was like, whoa. And it's a completely free app and it's just phenomenal the reach that they do. So I love writing music to make people just feel better and just transport them to a different place. And so listening to music like that in hospitals or, you know, I was a music therapist as a volunteer at the Royal Melbourne Hospital and just simply played guitar for patients and staff to just feel a little less stressed.
Has an incredible impact, music.
It's so profound.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've like a music song that I'll listen to every point of the day for every activity. And I've done that for like 5 years.
So do you think there's an element of, you get a lot of founders, mentors talking about getting in a state, okay, getting yourself in a state to be able to achieve certain things. And there's lots of different ways people do that. You essentially doing that through music, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have your songs for separate things. I do as well. If I'm not feeling good, if I'm not feeling overly positive, I have some very specific songs that I play.
Is it Taylor Swift?
And no, it's not Taylor Swift. I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Her new Orange album, though.
It's not Taylor Swift, but it changes your whole mood really quickly. It's incredible.
It does.
That and smell, right? That two things.
100%. It's the 5 senses, right? Yep. And sound is one of them. But also, if you listen to music at a certain hertz level, it'll tune into a brainwave frequency.
You're talking about lo-fi, that kind of thing? Is
that lo-fi, but there's like, you know, you can listen to like 85 hertz or like 125 hertz. Like that is then tuning to the frequency of the brainwave in which you're in. So if you're in alpha, theta, delta, then it depends on what you're doing. So if I'm about to go to sleep, I'm probably not going to listen to like hardcore psytrance, right?
So what are those? You just gave 4. What are those? Alpha, delta, tell us about, because I don't know.
Yeah. So for example, when I get up in the morning, there's a song by Peter B. Helen called Flying, and it goes for like half an hour. And I'll listen to that. Half an hour.
That's a long song.
Because it will take you from, you know, the sleepy kind of like subconscious into being awake. And fast forward into working through the day, I'll listen to lo-fi because that's more upbeat.
Yep.
And then rewinding into night, going back down into lower brainwaves. You're then really thinking about the type of music that you're listening to. But the like this is like high performance, right? Athletes will listen to their song to like amp them up and it'll be ritual. And so I see the power when you consistently listen to the same song doing the same activity over a long form and a long time. So for example, if you always start listening to the same song every time you sit down and start work, I'll listen to that song whether I'm at home or a co-working space or I'm overseas or I'm traveling or I don't really feel like working but I've got a deadline to meet, and it will put you into the mindset so much faster than if you were just trying to do it with coffee and silence in my mind.
Interesting. I can't stand silence. As everyone who knows me knows, this is why I talk all the time. Actually, that's not true. I do, but only at certain times.
Yes.
You know, I like silence when I'm on holiday. So I really switch off on holiday. I've learned, because I don't switch off really all the time, as you probably know. And I tend to work 7 days. I like working 7 days. Doesn't mean I work 24 hours, 7 days a week, but I like to work every day. I do.
Yeah.
And so when I go away for a week, that's when I like silence. That's the only time. So normally I'll listen to podcasts or books. I'll listen to music. I'll always have headphones in. I'll always be doing have some sort of noise around me.
Yeah.
But when I'm away, I actually can't. I take my headphones down on the beach. I don't want to listen to them. No. I actually don't.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to be in nature and just disconnect. Silence. Yeah. Yeah. We have that space. No, I love that. And what did you want to ask about repetition?
I wanted to say, when you look at things like sport, when you look at things like music, when you look at things like that, they talk about how repetition is mastery, right? When you're in a founder's job or building a community, it's very difficult to do repetition because there's so many things. So I'm always intrigued as to people who get to the top of their game in certain things, and it's often music and sport and so forth. It has come from hitting 2 million tennis balls in the same way, right? So they can just do it without thinking.
Exactly.
How can you relate that to community building, or how can you relate that to a founder where it's a constant, you never know what's going to happen. So it's very hard to be repetitive.
Yeah. Yeah. I think something that we teach at the Community Collective is when you're picking who your community serves, which is obviously relatable for a founder, obviously picking a customer for their business, we like to use the niche cubed concept. So to be niche, very specific, is not enough anymore. Like, we are in the age of AI, information overload, like people are unsubscribing from newsletters. There's just like content everywhere. You have like probably 5 email accounts, getting notifications on WhatsApp, LinkedIn, Slack. It's a fire hose out there. And now we don't know, is that actually Sally posting on LinkedIn? There's a lot of M dashes in that post. Like, can I trust, or is it just AI?
Yep.
Is this an actual bot? Is this an agent with this LinkedIn DM? Is this some campaign? We can't actually trust. And I think with the increase of scams and a lot of spam emails and like hackers for things like that, we're in a trust recession.
Yeah.
And so there's so much competition, and the playing field has fundamentally changed. Like, the game has changed.
Yep.
So we can't play in the same way as we have in the past. So in the past, it was enough to just be niche.
Mm-hmm.
But now you have to be niche cubed. So to be niche is just perhaps you're serving an audience who have one trait in common.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, when we started the Community Collective, we were like, community builders.
Yep.
That was their profession. And we thought, all right, well, that's still not enough. That's quite general. So let's be niche squared. So to the power of 2, we said community builders in Melbourne. So we chose a location.
Right.
Niche cubed says, hey, we need 3 traits for this audience segment to have in common in order to be eligible to join this community.
Mm-hmm.
So that then is community builders, the profession, in Melbourne, the location, in the startup industry. So then we picked a specific what's the
like
word
domain, genre?
Domain, exactly. And so we then were ruthlessly specific in serving that niche cubed audience. And we sat down and said, okay, great. This audience segment can become members, and all we want to do is serve you. And so repetition comes in when you actually stick to that.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of people who wanted to join. We actually said, no, we're like, sorry, Sydney. Sorry, New Zealand. Sorry, not-for-profit. Like, we're just starting with community builders in Melbourne in the startup space, from accelerators, co-working, like VCs. That's all we're going to do. And we're going to be ruthlessly repetitive and just do that for the first 3 to 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Because then when you serve that group, you're just like blowing their mind.
Yeah, because everything's coming at them, for them, dead for them.
Yeah. Imagine making a community for superheroes. Nah. But for Spider-Man in New York, who identifies as a male, phenomenal, right? Like that, imagine a meetup of Spider-Man. They're going to be like, oh my God, you get the Spidey senses, like all the things. And then also the power of that is the referral. So everyone now knows how to refer that group.
Yes.
Batman's sitting there like, duh, I wasn't allowed to go to the Spider-Man meetup, but sees another Spider-Man and was like, you should join. That's exactly for you.
Yeah.
So what that does is it's creating an audience who just feel so freaking seen, and they become your raving loyal fans. They refer, there's increased word of mouth, and you have this insane retention because you're only bringing in that vetted group of people.
Yeah.
So would you rather be invited? Imagine if you just got an email from someone and is like, Steve, you should come to this party. There's
nothing else.
Nothing else. Or if Tim Ferriss called you, said, Steve, I'm curating this private dinner party, about 20 execs from all around the world. I'm going to fly you to Hawaii. We're going to have this 24-hour dinner, and I've invited you and I've vetted 18 other people to join. Would you like to come?
Lot more.
Yeah. You're going to be like, whoa.
I mean, that's so
screw that
much
other
better
party.
than the other party anyway.
Yeah, like the other. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that one's pretty hard to beat. But you see the point.
That's a hell of a party.
Yeah, that's a hell of a
24-hour
party.
dinner as well.
Yeah,
Jeez,
oh my God.
That's a lot
Yeah,
of food.
whoa, how does that even happen? I don't even know. But you see the point.
I see the point.
If you're ruthlessly being that niche cubed. And so where repetition comes is you're actually being consistent over a long period of time. And you can like break down those barriers over a long time. But I think when we started the Community Collective, we wanted to just run that cohort program. And we just wanted to do that well. And that was the number one product that we invested probably about 80% of our time in. So I like to use the 80-20 rule, which is something that Gary Williams introduced me as we were walking in Melbourne to Sounders Place. And he said, I like to use the 80-20 rule. 80% you're spending time on what you know works. This delivers, it's reliable, it's consistent, and it delivers results.
Yep.
And 20% is for those other experiments. And so I apply that in building community and in running a business by going, okay, we're going to spend 80% of our time, resources, and team on building this program.
Yep.
And I just want the Community Collective to be known for running this awesome 8-week experience.
Yep.
And that compounding effect of sticking to that, which is really hard.
It is.
You have to have so much self-discipline with all these other things that happen on the side. And so far, so good. And the other 20%, yes, we do coaching, consulting, partnerships, sponsorships, but that is the main game.
Yeah.
So when you can be ruthlessly repetitive in serving your niche cubed member and delivering a really high quality white glove service, and you do that to the test of time, like you are just going to surpass anyone else who's decided to do 1,000 things, 8 of them, and build 20 different products. Like it just, would you rather be great at one thing or kind of mediocre at 8?
Yep. No, I think it's great. I think, and it is really hard to do. I've always struggled with just doing one thing.
The focus.
I mean, look, we've kept Nudge in the startup space. That's been hard because there's been so many other companies that have come to us. We've managed to do that.
Yes.
And we could probably cube that niche a bit more. Now you've said that.
Yeah. Cube that niche.
Yeah,
I love that.
You like that?
Yeah. Coined here. Heard it here first.
But yeah, it's incredibly hard to do because when something's working, you feel like I need to move on to the next thing. Well, I know I do.
Yeah. Or you think, I've got to diversify revenue streams. I can't put all my eggs in one basket.
Yeah, that particularly.
Oh, 100%. And also you're the founder, so you can make all the decisions. And then there's 1,000 different opportunities. Like it's really hard to say no, but I like to just say, not yet.
That's a good answer.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Like just building this, not yet. And just slowly you build capacity. And eventually once you become like the top of your game in a particular niche, imagine if every athlete chose 7 sports.
You meant madness.
Rugby, netball, swimming.
Rugby and netball.
Like, you're like, what?
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
If you're playing netball and soccer, you have to have long nails. Like, what? You're cutting them all.
So you've been doing that for a while now, the course, and you've been saying not yet. Are you close to a now moment with anything else? Is there anything else that you're coming close to with Community Collective?
Definitely. I think at the end of our program, there are a lot of because the main goal of the program is to help someone master community-led growth.
Yes.
So we bring in all these different speakers. We've got the founding member of Burning Man coming in next week.
Yes, I heard that.
Community at Notion. We've interviewed Seth Godin and Steph Smith and Laura Henshaw. And
which I remember you were so excited about. It was like a complete dream for you.
Yeah.
I remember I've never seen you
100%.
nervous ever. I have never seen you nervous. Probably comes from your music background, your ability to perform. I've seen you on stage 1,000 times. I've never seen you nervous. And this was even on video.
Yeah.
And I think I spoke to you maybe the day before and you had nerves.
Yeah. Of course. And it was, Jess Walker,
yes.
Obviously. It was her and I in the Butter tech check 15 minutes before Seth Godin was joining for the interview. So Butter is the online platform that we use. And Jess and I were just sitting there and Butter has a notification when someone arrives. It just says, Seth Godin is at the door. Me and Jess just took this photo like.
It was a good interview too.
Lost. It was phenomenal. We had 85 of our members there live asking questions. It was so cool.
Yeah.
And you could just ask anything. I mean, he was saying when he invented email marketing, decades ago, you're just like, what?
Yeah. I mean, how can you say that? What did you do? I invented email marketing.
Yeah. I asked him like, oh, what do you got planned for this week? And he's like, oh, I'll just have dinner tonight. My good friend Simon Sinek and I'll and you're like, oh my God, just in a whole nother league.
Yeah.
So yeah, things like that are just phenomenal to be able to bring people at the top of their game, the top of their industry into a world of community building where we'll take these members through and ask them questions to help them where they are now. And so the end goal of the community of the cohort is to build a community strategy.
Yep.
But after that program, you then have to build the thing.
You've
got to execute.
You do.
Yeah, you got to deliver the roadmap. You got to do what you said you got to do. And it's really hard. It's super hard. You're like going back into big organizations, might be at a university, like can't build it, didn't get approval for that. Like there's a whole nother set of challenges. And so what we've actually found as well is that community builders can be the bottleneck to the growth and success of the community because you end up being the events manager. Can you do partnerships? Here's sponsorships. Hey, we've run out of milk. Can you reorder that?
Yeah.
Oh, HR, can you run
Not unlike a founder.
Exactly. You get pulled into so many different areas and everything becomes community and it's really tough to understand like where is my lane. And so not having efficient operations, not leveraging AI, automations and being really efficient, I think makes a lot of people a bottleneck.
Yep.
So we've like really seen this kind of key challenge of how can you set up a business and a community to run without you? Not to write yourself out of a job.
Yep.
But to make sure that you're not the bottleneck to the success and the scale that this group can grow to.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, we've like dabbled in like a 10-day challenge here and there and kind of thinking about other ways we can serve people in that group. But honestly, like the main game is still the community cohort and until there's like another bigger problem that really is calling us, we'll just like keep sticking at it
I love your business.
for now.
I think it's amazing. I think what you've built is amazing. Tell me, I've got a question that I am fascinated, which I keep meaning to ask you.
Tell me.
It's gone quite global.
Yes.
So you started off with a niche in Melbourne. You're now all over the world. How did that happen? Because that happened, in my view of watching, very, very quickly over a period of about 12 months, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How and why?
Did you know?
No, this is why I'm asking.
Yeah. Fair point. But did you know that the second largest country in where our members are based is Nigeria?
Yes, because you've told me that before, because it's the wildest thing ever.
And it's crazy. And so it's Australia, then Nigeria, and then New Zealand, and then we're across 18 countries.
So random.
Just members. This is not including our total audience. So the total audience is 17,500. And we have 700 in our private community of CCNs. And basically, when we launched that first cohort, we had invited a speaker who was from Lagos, Nigeria. His name was Jeff Abdu. Phenomenal human. He's coming in to speak about building DEI communities, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And basically, we didn't realize he was like famous.
The person.
He's like famous in Nigeria. So he had posted on LinkedIn like, hey, I'm speaking in this cohort that has never existed before. And we had like all these applications from people in Nigeria. And I was like, whoa, wow, okay. Like wasn't expecting that. And actually the average salary of a community manager in Nigeria is about 1,800 Australian dollars.
For the year.
For the whole year. The program at the time was $880. At the moment, it's $2,800 for the base entry package. Yep. So, exorbitant amount. That's like nearly a whole year of someone's salary. It's like the equivalent of paying like $100,000 in Australia for a program. So for us, we were like, whoa, I mean, that's wild. But these community managers were building community at Google and She Codes Africa and like these insane not-for-profits, and they were starting their own companies.
So who was paying for that? Were they paying for it?
So a lot of them were volunteers in communities, like they have a high unemployment, very difficult to get a job. And they started applying for the program. But we were like, whoa. And so we actually ended up building this scholarship fund that we've just funded ourselves. And we fund 10 full or partial scholarships per program.
That's right.
And so we've had over 100 scholarships funded just from us for people who are either living technically below the poverty line by Australian standards or from underrepresented groups. Have supported a lot of female founders who didn't have enough money and many different types of people. And so we then built this scholarship fund and then had a lot more people from all around the world applying at different rates. And so what that then meant was when you then support 10 and they had this phenomenal experience, they went and told everyone else. And what was really crazy as well is that all the different speakers that we keep landing are from all over the world. And so when they share, we've had the head of community at Slack. I think Jacob like reposted something and had like 5 people apply. And I was like, oh, I saw Jacob's part of this. Like, I want to be a part of this. And so it was just this huge, we like to call it the community flywheel. Everyone wants a flywheel.
Everyone.
Opposite of flywheel is a death loop. No one wants a death loop.
Let's stick with flywheel.
Yeah.
Stop talking about
you
death
don't want
loop.
a death loop for the nudge group?
No, no death loops.
No death loops. So building a flywheel is you find someone through word of mouth. They find you through word of mouth. They have this phenomenal experience. They then become a raving fan. Then they tell their network. Then they find you, and then it's just this flywheel. So the Community Collective has just fallen into this community flywheel at scale where now people from all around the world are joining our program and then sharing about it. And then their network is joining. But that's really hard because we've changed our schedules to be globally friendly, not just in the Australian time zone. And then it's so many growing pains because then you're dealing with different markets. But overall, we have a rule of thumb of if we have more than 8 members in one city, we allocate a host, and then that host connects all of the members in person in that city. So we've got one in Lagos, Nigeria, in Auckland, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, Adelaide, and a couple others. And so really then you're finding, the equivalent of Steve in Sydney
Yep.
in Auckland.
Yep.
And then you're saying to that person, how can I help you? And then they're connecting everyone there in person. So you just have this huge flywheel model of everyone catching up all over the world, and then sending a selfie with a C hand gesture like into our Slack. So it's been super fun.
That's so cool. Right, last question. One piece of advice without giving away your 8-week program.
Yeah.
That's relevant to both founders and community builders, because we have both that watch the show. We have probably a lot of founders that watch the show. We have a lot of community people as well. What would be the one piece of advice, the one little nugget out of your 8-week program that you could easily articulate to someone that they could start to, I guess, one, they could start to do, but also will get them thinking in the right way? Because there's a thought process to building a community, which I know you've spoken about before.
Yeah, definitely. I like to have decision-making frameworks. Because actually, if we just zoom out and look at life, a great life is determined by how many great decisions you make.
Yep.
And at scale. And so I like to adopt, there's one particular framework. There's a book called Who, Not How.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a framework of when you're trying to think about, how am I going to build this community? How am I going to run a business? How am I going to create a marketing strategy? How am I going to find someone to teach me how to build a flywheel? Instead of thinking how and being in that individualistic solo mindset, think of who. So ask yourself, who can help me build a community?
Mm-hmm.
Who can help me build a business? Who has mastered a marketing strategy? Who can I learn from? Who can co-create this experience with me? So who is now a collective mindset that is actually flipping the script and saying, you're not alone. You're actually not meant to build something like that alone. And you're going to be much stronger, much faster, way more enjoyable surrounding yourself with people who've mastered it and who want to help. And so the same principle goes for building a business, and the same principle goes for building a community. Because if there's one piece of advice that I have, it's to never build a community or a business for someone. Shocking. Like, you can't build community for anyone.
So what do you mean?
You have to build, you have to build community with them. So the key element there is, like, you can't just build it for them, make all the decisions. Here it is. You have to build it with them. Hey, I'm thinking about X, Y, Z. Which one?
Collaborative.
Okay, great. It's collaborative. Yeah, exactly. You know, many of the approaches that you've done with many of your incredible businesses, it's really about understanding, who am I serving? What do they want to see? Okay, great. Let's build that. Amazing. Did I get it right? Cool. All right. Cool. You want to help? Okay, great. And it's just become, you know, the best leaders don't lead, they listen.
Yeah.
So really coming back to that around thinking who, not how, I think that will just help in life in general.
That's a great piece of advice.
Oh, that's
going to make the
Just
best
3
short.
words.
That's going to make the best short. That's going to go everywhere. That's going to go viral.
Hey.
Well, Paz, thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing. You articulate things particularly well. I love talking to you. It's going to be fascinating to watch this back, because I've never been able to watch our conversations back before. I'm actually really looking forward to it. And I cannot wait to see what happens next. As I've told you time and time again, and when our birthday party comes around again next year, I'll still say, I can't believe what you've done in the last 12 months. And I'm sure I'll be going to say that again.
I say that right back at you, Steve. I mean, you've been instrumental. You knew me before the Community Collective even started. We met at the Commons.
We did.
In Cremorne.
Before the
where
COVID.
everything happens. And, you know, you've helped us all along the way and have always been such a great sounding board. So that, you know, you've definitely been
It's such an amazing business,
which is so cool. I mean, I just loved how many different chapters there've been. What are we going to say in like 10 years?
Well, we'll just get you back every
year. We'll be
year.
at that 24-hour dinner party with Tim Ferriss.
In 10 years? Gosh, 24-hour dinner party. Sounds awesome. I love the sound of this.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, all right. I mean,
let's do it.
Let's do it. Tim, if you're listening.
Done. Great.
Book us in for 10 years. Thanks for coming on this show, Paz.
Oh, thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.